And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live here at Citizen Television, here with two youthful legislators. That's right, under 40 years old. Imagine OGM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna is running for Senator of Nairobi County, and Mgwen Member of Parliament Alex Koskei running for Senator of Nandi County. Gentlemen, it just occurred to me during the break. I was asking myself, is politics in the blood? Because before the break you said, you come from a lineage of, Sifunas who were in office for the last, 4 decades or so. Is it in the blood? And, same with you.
I think it is a whole debate of nurture and nature, that in fact you grow up and the influences around you tend to influence what you become. There are many politicians whose children, turn up to be totally different things. They go into sport and the others, but it depends also on the influence that has been around you when you're growing up. I am very proud of the record that Lawrence Sifuna has, and he gave us a very solid name to start. I mean, you go anywhere in this country and people recognize that you are from that line. And recently when we lost the former Attorney General, some of the stories came out as to why these guys became the people that they became. He used to tell us when we were kids that a good name is like better than anything. So the story of Charles Njonjo trying to pass him an envelope in Bunge is one of those infamous stories. The story of the 7 bearded sisters and all the things that they were able to do during that time. It is something that has had a great impact on me. And of course, we grew up watching all these other guys, the Raila Odingas, the James Orengos. Actually, for me, Jeff, it has been the honor of my life to grow up idolizing these guys and then to be able to now sit in the same room with Orengo in the Central Committee and Raila is on your right. It has just been, even so far, if I don't achieve anything else, I mean, I am an extremely proud person that I got the opportunity to be able to learn at the feet of such great men. Yeah.
Alex Koskei, in your thoughts, is it in your blood too? Is that?
No, I mean, I don't know whether that's the best way to put it. I agree with Bwana SG here that it is an honor and a privilege to serve in any capacity, and those of us who have the opportunity get very humbled by it. I would say, however, that I think sometimes it is exaggerated about in terms of those who maybe have had relatives elsewhere, because we in Parliament, we in the National Assembly, 290 elected MPs, 47 women reps, and the nominated MPs, and then the 67 in the Senate. I think probably less than 10 of them have relatives who served in previous administration. So whereas you might mention 1 or 2 who you see today, and you may say that one may be related to somebody, I think what you don't see is all the many others who did not come from any particular background, and they are just as equally, in fact, in many cases, as competent as anybody, and even more competent.
Tell me, so you have a brother who's running for governor?
I didn't want to comment on other other seats.
You could just say yes or no.
Yes, I think it is yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Maybe just ask him if he has a brother.
No.
And leave it there. But Jeff, in politics, like even in your business, name recognition is an added advantage. The fact that you are Kosgei's son is like you've started off 50%. From the guys who's probably...
And the same thing with Sifuna's
And the same thing with Sifuna. So you must, give credit that you are lucky you carry a famous name. It helps because politics, name recognition, and a facial recognition that you can walk in town and people say that is Jeff Koinange, you've done half of the work. Because most of the times when people go to the ballot, they tick against people that they recognize and they know. So you could very well argue that it is a good thing to have a solid name behind you, and a name that is a credible name. There are some names that are actually they can actually bring you down.
Okay, speaking of names...
You see, okay, the only thing which I sometimes have a problem with that is that, generally speaking, as we move forward in a democratic society and where we are right now, what we do strive to create and to ensure is a level of equality of opportunity. and we try and make sure that people, regardless of whatever background, regardless of whatever position that they come from, do have just as equal chance as other people to aspire for any position or any kind of outcome. That is the whole reason why a lot of politics is actually centered on trying to ensure good education in the grassroots, try and ensure good healthcare, and try and see that if people are given as best a chance as possible, then their outcome should be, they should have the equality of that opportunity. You cannot guarantee equality of outcome because you never really know. People will always turn out differently. But the opportunity should be there. And that is something that I think we all strive for in politics, regardless of party. And as a country, it's not just in Kenya, many other countries across the globe always strive for this. And in a democracy, that's one of the tenets of a democracy.
Sure, a level playing field. At the end of the day, SG, a moment ago you were talking about names. Speaking of which, I know you're not your party's leader, and you can't speak on behalf of the party leader, but who will ODM be looking for? Who will your party leader be looking for as a running mate?
It is easier to talk about the sort of person that you're looking for, Jeff, because there is generally acknowledged criteria for a running mate. You are looking for somebody who will complement the ticket. In Kenya, people are always looking to see the diversity of Kenya, reflected in everything that we do, in every team that we assemble. So even the person that you pick as your running mate should be somebody who brings that face of Kenya to the ticket. It should be somebody who complements you, somebody who can actually be able and willing to step into your shoes in the event that, you are not able to do the job. Makau Mutua had put out an article in the Sunday Nation just this Sunday, that in fact the person you choose must be ready from day one to be able to undertake the duties of the office of a president. There are people who also add a lot of oomph and value to the campaign itself. There are people who will come either with resources or with certain connections, and they're able to open doors to places that as a candidate you yourself will not be able to access. So that is the general criteria that any presidential candidate, I'm sure even from our opponent's side, would be looking to, in order to pick a running mate.
So you're not going to give me any names, you're just going to dance around?
No, actually, that is like way beyond my pay grade, bro. I mean, I wish the Senate had a running mate. I would tell you who I'm considering for running mate for Senate in Nairobi. But it is something that is also a very private matter for the presidential candidate to consider in his own time. That somebody they have some chemistry with, people that they would essentially be able, and somebody who buys into his vision. If you are somebody who has committed to jail the corrupt, you cannot get a corrupt individual and then say this is the person I'm going to run with. You're going to have problems in your political marriage. And some of the friction that you see between the current president and the deputy is probably because their view of the world was not always the same, and that they were brought together by circumstance, and that immediately now it became about why are we together. Problems began from there. Yeah.
Mahesh, your thoughts? Running mate for UDA? I know you can't speak for your party leader.
Yes, I mean, of course, I can't really, talk for somebody else. What I would say is I agree with him. All I could say is that in terms of a general ideal, somebody who shares the view of the party of trying to build on the economy, somebody who wants to support the party leader. And I think also from what I have heard from what the party leader has said is that he wants to make sure that whatever the case, him and his deputy maintain a good working relationship all throughout. And that unfortunately, it's unfortunate that there has been a bit of a breakdown in the relationship between the president and the deputy in this second term. And that is not something that we would like to see in future. We would like to have a situation where for the entire duration of their term, however long it may be, that they would have a good working relationship. I know he has said that despite people making the case that vice presidents or deputy presidents have always somehow suffered. Moi obviously famously had his difficulties when he was serving under Kenyatta, Saitoti under Moi, other people had that. And I think what was said is that, those wrongs don't make a right, that therefore now that he's a deputy should also endure some kind of difficulty. I think he has said that if he does manage to become the president, He wants to make sure that he maintains a good working relationship with his deputy all through, because that unity is important, because the only way you'll be able to move the country forward in a positive direction is maintaining that unity between the president and his deputy. And that's, I think, what we will hope to see when eventually the selection is made, and we'll be able to now move forward as a team.
Yeah, apparently the Star has a headline tomorrow. I'm going to read tomorrow's headline today. They've done a poll and to see who would be the preferred candidate of both, the two leaders. And they said Raila's preferred candidate out of a list, one who polled the highest, Peter Kenneth with 27.3%. And then, of course, there's Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, Martha Karua, Hassan Joho, Gideon Moi. And your son.
I don't want to besmirch the good name of the Star, but you have to take some of the Star headlines with a pinch of salt. And I will start with, even today they had a poll. Any poll that tells you that somehow Raila has just recently overtaken William Ruto in the coast or in Western is a cause for concern. Because when did William Ruto ever lead Raila in the coast? I mean, it has never happened. When did he ever lead in Western, so that we are just now overtaking him? So even on this one, it would be a credible poll if the people polled were the presidential candidates, because this is their decision. I can guarantee you the Star never called Raila. So it is his personal decision as a presidential candidate who he wants as running mate. So you cannot go ask, I don't know how I can put it. If you are looking for the chairperson of the staff at Citizen TV, for instance, then you go and conduct a poll amongst mango farmers in Kitui. Can you really tell us that is a reflection of the thinking of the people at Citizen? You are polling in the wrong group.
So you're saying apples and oranges?
Yes.
Okay.
You are looking for
dismissing the opinion poll dismissing the
farm.
opinion poll that was showing that the deputy president was ahead by far today. I mean, I think it's just because you don't like the results. And, this is the classic situation with Raila. Whenever the results are not favoring
Raila is not here.
He will literally dismiss all his supporters like you. But the opinion poll of today did show that the deputy president was actually just about 3-4 percentage points short of a 50% plus one victory. So if that holds, which is what we are thinking that we will build on, then the outcome is already there on the wall.
Okay. How about tomorrow's headline, the one I just read? By the way, Ruto's preferred candidate, Mathira MP Rigathi Gachagua. He was 24%, the highest. After that is Martha Karua, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Peter Kenneth, Alfred Mutua. But top with 24.9%, Mathira MP.
I mean, as I said, I cannot talk for the deputy president what his preference would be. Poll. But what I will say is that all of those are very competent people. The Mathira MP who came out top is an extremely resourceful person. He has distinguished himself many times in his county, and I'm not surprised that a lot of people have a high opinion of him. And the others also who you mentioned on that list are also very competent individuals. So I think it's a difficult choice for the deputy president and also any party leader in this situation. I just hope that they will make the right choice and we'll be able to then move forward well.
You're smiling. Why?
Birds of a feather, bro. Birds of a feather.
You see, again, this thing of making unsubstantiated allegations, that is the problem with...
I don't know what he wants me to substantiate.
You want to know.
He wants to know which birds I'm talking about.
It is not
what do you want me to substantiate? I can do it.
You said birds of a feather?
Yeah.
What does the magic wall say? Nyar Gero is saying, for the starters, in political ambitions and the not-so-starters, how does one wade into these waters?
That's what I was trying to speak to, and really it's... There is, I don't know if it is for everybody who is in politics, but you feel a certain call, like the way that those who are in evangelism do. And once you commit that this is what you want, you feel that you have something to offer your people in service. Because as Raila has said, you go into public service not to make money, but to serve the people. So if you feel that you have something to contribute, and by the way, part of the problem with Kenyan leadership is that the people who are really talented are somehow scared away from participating in politics. So it is incumbent upon us. Luckily for you, you have somebody who has been in political party leadership for 5 years. It is incumbent upon us as leaders of political parties to create an environment that would actually be able to, first of all, identify the talent, the new people, not just the names that are known, on, and then to be able to nurture them and surround them is like a seedling. You know, when you plant a seedling, there should be able to be some level of protection until those people reach a space like the one that I'm in. I can be released in the wild and I'll do fine. Yeah. So it is incumbent upon us in all political formations to be able to create that environment that identifies continuously people who, if given that sort of support and protection, would actually be future leaders.
And you don't mind failing again? If you do,
I actually don't. I actually don't. I mean, because you only fail if you don't try. If you don't have your foot in the game, then really, what is it about?
Mahesh, you agree?
No, yes, I do agree. And all I would say is that it's not really even for us as leaders to be the ones to nurture them, but it is for them to be able to come out and just grab the bull by the horns, be ready to go out there, just start campaigning if they wish to. I think I would encourage some of the younger people to do so, because at a younger age, they have less to lose about it. You know, what happens, unfortunately, sometimes some of the older people get scared of wading to politics because obviously they have a lot of obligations. But I think some of the younger people who are out there, and maybe they are keen or interested in it, I would encourage them to just begin wherever it is. You know, they say when you are a politician and you're asking for votes, you never worry about the crowd. Even one person is okay. You talk to that one person. If you go somewhere and you see, you know, 3 people start sitting, having a cup of tea, you campaign and talk to those 3 people. So they shouldn't worry about, you know, if I was to start campaigning, will I have a big enough crowd, or will I have a good enough name to be able to go to pull, voters. Just start with wherever it is and see how you can build up from there.
Absolutely. Elizabeth Wangari is asking, ask Sifuna and Honorable Koskei to sell their party and individual manifestos. What change will they bring to Kenyan youth and Kenyans at large? We were talking about that a moment
Yes,
ago.
we did. We did, and it is very critical, Jeff, that you must draw a correlation between leadership and your life and how it affects you. We talk to a lot of young people who say they're not interested in politics. The famous adage is that even if you are not interested in politics, politics is interested in you. And I've given them multiple examples. These days, there's really no definition of work. You could start making an income from anything. Take these famous TikTokers these days, or the people making money off of Instagram. Yeah. Immediately, a government that had no idea that there was potential in the digital space for you to be able to make money realizes that people are making money, they bring legislation to start taxing you. That affects you directly as a young person. Repeatedly, when we look at the data and the opinion polls about the key issues that people care about, right now the 2 topmost issues for Kenyans are cost of living and unemployment. Those are the only 2 issues that need to be addressed and will have the greatest impact to the people on the ground. So you look at the ideas that we have been discussing here, Jeff. Is there a relationship, for instance, between corruption and unemployment? When somebody who's an investor comes from the US and he has to go through the hoops to go through 50 different offices that are essentially just toll stations for corruption to obtain licenses, and before he is able to set up his plant, he becomes so frustrated and decides there are countries that are actually more business friendly. He takes his project to Tanzania or to Rwanda. How many jobs have been lost? We must have a real conversation about the relationship between the leaders who you put in office and your life, and the relationship between job creation, the cost of living, and corruption. For instance, on the question of cost of living, people are complaining about high cost of electricity. It's a factor of production. It is also affecting whether people invest in Kenya or not. But just recently, a story came out that the reason why our bills are so long is because there are some private producers of electricity that have essentially captured Kenya Power, and that their expensive tariffs they are charging to sell power to Kenya Power is translating to us. And we can't even be shown those contracts as the public, because there are people sitting somewhere on those contracts and making money at the expense of the Kenyan people.
Yeah, we had a nationwide blackout the
absolutely.
other day, didn't we?
And it is ridiculous, Jeff, that you can actually put out or put an entire country in a blackout by just unloosening 2 bolts in Embakasi. It's ridiculous.
So what are you trying to say?
We should be thinking about devolution of our national grid. It should not be possible for you to put an entire country.
Well, okay, why don't you come?
Taking out 1 pylon? It's ridiculous.
Okay, well, I think I liked the question that had been posed was to say that they wanted us to actually talk about what the manifestos are of the individual leaders or the individual parties. And that's actually something really helpful. And maybe we don't have lots of time today, but it's something which I think we need to actually get into. Everybody knows that from the Deputy President side and the UDA side, there is the issue of the bottom-up economy. Some people find that they have not understood it, but briefly, it is about trying to create wealth and trying to stimulate growth from the grassroots without necessarily expecting high investment from the top, because the ability for government to do that at the moment is limited, especially with the level of debt that we have. And the easiest way for us to realistically think about growing our economy is trying to stimulate the grassroots and moving forward from there. On the other side, and I would have been curious. No, I have to respond to sometimes what I know is there, because I know that Raila launched a 10-point plan when he was doing the Azimio launch. Now, on some of those things, many of them are actually costing money. And he has never actually addressed fully how he will pay for that money. There's a 6,000 shilling stipend that he has said that he will give the poor families. He's not even identified who these poor are. Anybody who's done the mathematics on it, it's going to cost anywhere from between 150 billion to 500 billion. And then he has talked about a lot of other expensive things, like what he has mentioned in terms of healthcare and what he has mentioned in terms of helping people in different areas. Now, all of them are noble. The issue is how it will be paid for. From our end, we have actually tried to really cost and say that what we'll do are these things. There's a 50 billion loan that the Deputy President has said would be made available through 150 million shilling allocations to each constituency, which would be repayable. That is entirely within our budget. No, we can raise that. We can raise 50 billion
from to where?
Try. No, the Kenyan taxpayers. We already do pay. I mean, this year we just recently the KRA actually announced an increase in collections. We are actually having a very good collections rate from KRA. The problem is the debt is rising at a level that the tax collections cannot keep up with. So what you need to do is A, find a way to reduce that debt, and B, find a way to make sure that the little tax that we collect is channeled into something that is productive, like that which is one of the policies of the UDA, which is to make sure that the youth who are on the ground in each constituency have a particular amount that they can utilize to generate wealth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So some interesting things that he has said here.
About bottom-up or...
Yeah. First of all, he will not explain to you how this bottom-up model is.
No, I would. I'm just telling you. No, I don't accept that. The problem is that we don't have a lot of time. But I've just finished trying to tell you.
You don't even know how much time you have.
Okay, fine. Okay, I have tried to tell you that the bottom up, the difference with it is that you're trying to ensure that you achieve economic growth from the grassroots. So it is a very common thing, even worldwide. You do have a trickle-down economy, or you do have an economy where you grow it from the...
Here is how. You see, for us, we are not obsessed with labels. We don't want easy phrases that people can latch onto. We want to explain to you...
But you said you're trickle-down.
No. We never said trickle-down.
You did? Okay, you have said that the president has actually...
He is the one who has brought up the question of trickle-down. Raila Odinga talked about rural transformation. You remember that?
Yes, he changed it. He started copying us, saying that he wants to do
from where? Show us a document.
He wanted to start copying.
Just a minute.
Which is okay. I mean, imitation is the greatest form of flattery, so we're usually quite happy with it.
Just a minute. Other than shouting bottom up at political rallies, show us a document from which I can copy the question of rural transformation. Jeff, the people of Kenya want government to do its job and get out of the way.
Okay.
If you build...
Tell us how you'll pay for that stipend of 500 billion.
Just a minute. I will explain to you. The stipend that we are talking about, 6,000, is about making sure that no single Kenyan goes to bed hungry. We are a country who is dealing at things at a very basic level to ensure that you can go to bed as a president knowing at least everybody has put food in their stomach.
How do you identify?
So it is about to...
Exactly.
It's very easy.
No, they are unemployed right now, about 2 million. Then there are about 7 million who are said to be inactive people. So a total of about 9 million people who are being talked about.
Can I explain?
So between 2 million and 9 million...
Times 6,000 a month.
Times 6,000 a month, that comes to between 150 billion to 500 billion. How do you actually pay for that?
Can I explain?
And our collection is about 1.6 trillion.
It's like me, I come from Bungoma. I want to explain to him how Nandi looks like. I wish he would shut up and listen to the people who came up with this proposal. Jeff, we are talking about 220 billion shillings each year. I will give you a very simple example of where we're going to get this money. The amount of money that was lost in one project of Aurora was 60 billion shillings. 60 billion shillings. Now, the Chinese had a program where they were getting 10 million people out of poverty each year. When you're getting 10 million people out of poverty each year, they are reducing. The bill will not be the same every year. So when you start off with 2 million households, and I will tell you where the information is, we have an agency called the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Those people are the ones who conduct your census, Jeff. They know how many cats you have. They know the floor on your house. They know the roof on your head. They can tell us with certainty which households do not have a single member of that household earning an income. This is ascertainable. We are talking about data and science. It is not something that is voodoo, like what they're telling.
No, the information is there, I agree.
Now, when we come to the mathematics, we have done the math. It is 2 million households.
No,
and when you put
there are 2 million are the official unemployed. There are a further 7 million who are classified as inactive workers. So if you combine the two, the inactive workers are actually a more serious problem than the 2 million. The 2 million are just an official unemployment figure. So you have to combine both.
Households. I don't know how I can say it in Kalenjin. What is a household in Kalenjin? It is a household. If we are here in this building and we are a family, it's called a household, Kosgei.
Where I got, so I'm quoting the same figures of the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics that you're talking about. So that's where I'm talking about.
All right, gentlemen, we can agree on that. Let's move on, please. Because
what is household in Kalenjin? I need to explain it to him.
Maybe Bonte Arab can tell us. Listen to this. Ask the young leaders what their thoughts of the treatment of Jimmy Wanjigi and what it means to democracy. Let's start with you, SG.
Can I finish the question of households? Please.
You already said from 2 million, 7 million, 9 million, we'll be here all night.
It's critical so that we understand.
You already explained it.
I am explaining to you.
Kenya Bureau of Statistics.
Yes, we have 2 million households that do not have a single member earning an income. What the 6,000 shilling does, it guarantees that that family will have a meal to eat when they go to bed. And together with other programs that you have to create employment, to attract investment, each time somebody from one family is able to now get a job and sustain that family is removed from the program. So it is going to be reducing by the third year or the fourth year. The bill is not going to be the same as the bill in the first.
And where's the money coming from, real quick?
From the theft.
No.
From plugging. I'm telling you,
there is
my
no
brother,
way
I gave you an example.
You're going to deal with corruption overnight.
It is going to be possible, Jeff.
Come on.
You have seen countries. Let me tell you. There are countries where the president got in and the first thing he did was to jail his brother. Do you know what that communicates? It requires a communication from day one that this is something that is not going to be tolerated. Number two, you are kicking out the people who are actually stealing. Because once we win the elections, these thieves will not have the instruments of power. They'll be out. So what we are saying is, it is very possible. If you deal with the wastage in government and the theft in government, you can be able to finance. You are telling me, Jeff, we are comfortable with the president telling us they steal 2 billion shillings a day, but you cannot find 200 shillings a day for families, 2 million households? You're joking. It is possible.
Good point.
Let me talk about the Jimmy Wanjigi situation. I'll just say this quickly, that like what we were talking about earlier, saying that in a political year, it's unfortunate to try and change political laws at the beginning of that year. By the same token, it's also unfortunate to harass or have the appearance that any person who is a political candidate is somehow being treated unfairly. And even if there is a case for dealing with him, it is not the right time. I think the agencies have had in some of this information for a long time, and there is still a time after the election to address it. But trying to do so now, even if we are to take them in good faith, it comes out badly. And it is said there that there is the quote where justice must not only be done, but it must be seen to be done. Now, what is being done to Jimmy Wanjigi looks unjust. To any casual observer, it is just unjust to see him to be raiding somebody who is a presidential candidate in the middle of a campaign. And the same thing applies to countless other politicians who have been targeted in ways which maybe it's not unfair, maybe there is a reason. But just the fact that there's a political election, and it's a political year, and the fact that they are, maybe on opposing sides, it is wrong to try and target them. All these agencies should either have done this a long time ago, or they should probably just wait until after the election.
Absolutely. SG,
Jeff,
Wanjigi was one of the chief financiers of ODM.
Quite interesting. Right? He wasn't. But this is what...
No, come on.
Just a minute. We will get to it. You know, this is not the first time Jimmy Wanjigi's house is being raided. I wish I had Kosgei's voice when the first time it happened. You know, these Latter-day Saints, when they pontificate, and yet when these things were being drawn, this structure was being put together, they were the cheerleaders of that system. When he was complaining about, this terrible vote that happened in Parliament, you didn't hear his voice when they were passing the very, very laws that we are looking to claw back our freedoms during the security laws amendment laws. I wish we knew your voice then, Alex. It is good to meet your voice now, but we wish we had it earlier. This thing... No,
we have spoken when the time comes. Maybe you want to listen.
I have 10,000 life members of ODM. Jimmy Wanjigi is one of them. Today, I do not know what sort of fights, what sort of problems the other 10,000 members of ODM who are life members are going to get themselves into. Not everything that happens in my life, I'm the SG of ODM, has anything to do with politics. If I get out of here today and we decide that we're going to have a drink, and I decide to have, we engage ourselves in a fight, how is Raila Odinga involved in that? Where does politics come? Just because I'm the SG of ODM. In fact, when I get home, my daughter doesn't see the SG of ODM. She sees her father. So it is not everything that happens in the life of a politician that is political. Number two, this is not the first raid on Wanjigi's house. It is the second one. And if you look at the flurry of court documents that have been thrown at us, this is something that you cannot sit here and say definitively that it has anything or nothing to do with X or Y. It is land fraud. There was a court order to arrest him. The court order was lifted. These are not issues that are political. They are legal problems that will be sorted out by Wanjigi and his legal team alone.
But what the timing?
So the question
the point is that in an election year, it is unfortunate to be targeting political leaders at that time. And it is just something that, as a general rule, is just not something that should be done.
I wish the law...
I wish you would at least accept some of these things.
I wish the law was that during election years there are no arrests. I wish that was the law. But it is the truth that that is not the law. That investigations are ongoing, including some involving me, involving him, involving people in UDA. There are investigations that are ongoing. So what we are saying is this, Jeff. It was always a case of Jimmy Wanjigi and his guns and the DCI. How has it become a Raila Odinga issue? How has it... What is this timing?
He himself is blaming...
It is ridiculous because that's what I'm telling you. These people like to drag the name of Raila Odinga in everything so that they can get the sort of media attention that you are giving them. We are not interested. In fact, I am a NEC member of the ODM, and we as NEC members are some of those people who vote to determine who becomes the presidential candidate of ODM. I can tell you in a NEC of 38 people, Jimmy Wanjigi has managed probably to convince one person to support his bid. We are the people to determine who becomes the... Because it is not just about crying and saying you are a candidate. You must be able to canvass for votes and persuade the people that you actually a viable candidate. I have had a conversation with him because I still consider him a friend. I do not wish the things that are happening to happen to anyone, including my enemies. But I consider him a friend. And he was unable to convince me on a path to victory for us as ODM with him as our candidate. This is just the truth.
Okay. Noah Tala is asking, of late we've witnessed an influx of celebrities showing interest in vying for political seats. What is driving them? What can the young leaders advise them? First. Comedians, musicians, you name it, even some radio talk shows.
I mean, I think ultimately the way the question is phrased, it suggests that the person thinks that it's a bad idea. It's not really a bad idea if the person who is vying genuinely wishes to make a positive impact to their community, to their whichever, whether it's a constituency, whether it's another elective area. And if they do have the right idea and they do have the right intention, they should by all means go for it. And I would encourage them to do it. I think all that perhaps he's trying to allude to is that maybe celebrities are not doing it for purposes of helping their community, but maybe for just to enhance their celebrity star appeal, which is something which I think hopefully the voters will be able to see through. But there are many, many people who might have a genuine intention of trying to help people, and they succeed in doing so, and that's fantastic. I mean, it has happened in many cases. I mean, even in the US, Ronald Reagan started as an actor and ended up becoming a very successful president despite being a a celebrity in another life, and other people, have done. Arnold Schwarzenegger later also moved on and became a governor and performed well in his role. So it happens where people cross over. The only thing is they do it for the right intention, and hopefully the voters can see this is the right intention, and the person has the right ideas, and let them support them for that reason.
Very good point. SG, do you agree?
I think, I hope that your viewer there is not insinuating that there is any lack of capacity on the part of people involved in the arts or people who have had other careers before joining politics. I don't think that it necessarily translates. There's a view, there's a very interesting conversation we've had with even these young members of parliament in Bunge, that especially if you represent a certain demography, if you represent young people, if you are the first musician to ever be elected to parliament, the responsibility that is upon your shoulders is not just about you. It is about for everybody else who will come after you. If you perform poorly as a young person, like my brother here, you are closing the door for other young people, because people will
honestly, you have a lot of personal attacks. I do not know why.
I'm just saying.
I think you need to defend me from these personal attacks.
The public,
you see, this is the other issue. We should actually be focusing on issues.
Alex,
that's why I was actually saying earlier, I wish we could have discussed issues. But the problem is that you like personal attacks.
Let me finish.
You became personal.
Yeah, it's a personal attack. Then you refuse to condemn violence. Honestly, who is the one who is having problems over here?
Let me use my example.
Okay.
When I was appointed SG, I was 35 years old. There were a lot of doubts as to whether a young person of that age would be able to steward a party as large as ODM. The responsibility I feel on my shoulders is not just mine alone. I know that if I mess up in this role, other political parties are going to be pointing at me and saying, we gave these young people opportunity and look how they behaved. This question even came up. There was a point when Uhuru Kenyatta appointed, I think it was Uncle Moody, to some board.
Yeah.
And when there was furor and people, raised objection, he said, you young people, when we give you opportunities, we do what? We mess them up. So if you are the first musician to be elected to parliament, if you are the first young person or a young person to be elected in parliament, there are certain lists your name should not appear on, like the list of the people who have spoken the list in parliament. That's the point I'm making.
No, honestly, I think the personal attack, and the list of people who are actually trying to bring down the debt and actually propose legislation to address the debt. And I think that's a very good list to be on and be on the right side of fighting that, which I have done. And I actually think that you should address what you have done and what the party has done, because that is the thing which I've just mentioned, that Raila, more than any other politician, is responsible for the passage of the 2019 debt ceiling that gave this country some of the biggest problems that we're having right now. And instead of talking about that, you wish to unfortunately attack me as a person and not actually articulate the policies of your party and your party leader, because that's actually what we want to address.
We're dealing with the question of celebrities. So perhaps the perception by Kenyans that these guys should not be joining politics is based on the performance of other people who are in that space who joined parliament. And when Kenyans are auditing their performance, they don't see anything positive, and that's why they probably, there's some level of negativity towards these guys joining politics. But it's not to say anything about your capacity, Jeff, to be able to be a legislator. You've done this job for all these years. It is not unimaginable that you could make a good legislator. So I think what they're trying to do goes back to a point that I made, that at the end of the day, your name is your asset. If you've built a name and people are able to recognize you and say, this is Jeff Koinange, it is an asset that you have. If you decide that then, because in politics, as I said, name recognition, you've done maybe 30% of the work. Can people tell your face from other aspirants? Because it's also a crowded field, the politics. So these people probably see that they should cash in on this asset of the name and the facial recognition and the others to be able to get into politics.
If I ran against you in Nairobi?
Oh, it would be quite a tough race, but for you, not for me.
Jeff, I think I would vote for you.
Thank you.
It's a good thing he votes in Nandi.
So it wouldn't count in Nairobi?
No, it won't count in Nairobi.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Forget that one then. Gentlemen, let's get some closing thoughts. All right, SG, start with you. Some closing thoughts going forward as a nation.
No, I think it is incumbent upon us to be able to encourage more and more young people to participate in politics, to regenerate the leadership of a country. So it is something that I want to put out there, that as a young person, you make a decision and you throw yourself into it. They are lucky that they have people like us who are now willing to be able to show them the ropes. We didn't have some of these people to tell us these things. There's a lot of things that goes into a candidate. And especially for my sisters who are young females who want to go into politics, there is a bigger even burden upon them than upon a young man like myself when they're running for politics, because of the cultural difficulties they face. Did you know that even a simple question as to how you wear your hair, Jeff, I can tell you for a fact you cannot be elected in Western Kenya unless you cut this hair. It is a problem.
Serious?
I'm telling you.
This miadi.
Wamama watakwambia sasa tunang'ang'ania miadi na yeye anachota, mimi nachota. So there's also I am telling you the truth.
Ni nyoe yote.
Hii lazima utanyoa. Uache kukaranga nyoe. So there are all those things for the ladies, whether you are married, if you're single, it's a problem. Where your husband comes from, there's all sorts of obstacles against women candidates, and especially the young ladies. That is why it is important for us as political party leadership to be able to see how we can steward new entrants into politics.
Absolutely. Mahesh, you get the last word.
Well, I think all I'll just say in conclusion is what I think we talked about earlier, about trying to condemn violence. I think that's the most important takeaway for today. We are facing another election year. We have had, obviously, bad experiences in the past. We know that there is some level of tension already, and it's still some months to go. What we would encourage everybody is to just, whatever happens, whatever issues, whatever they might hear in the news, they should never get to the point where they feel of doing anything that is violent or harming or hurting anybody. At the end of the day, their fellow Kenyan is their brother, their sister. Whatever differences of opinion that we might have, even right now with my brother over here, the SG, he's still my brother over here, and I have no problem with him. And I would always think that in a democracy, we should always have those kind of limits to say we can agree and disagree, but at the end of the day, we remain peaceful and we remain as friends. And I think that's the most important takeaway for today.
Absolutely. Good point, gentlemen. Good point, and good luck. Alex Koske, MP Mngwen, he's running for Senator for Nandi County. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And of course, Edwin Sifuna, Secretary General ODM, he's running for Senator, Nairobi County. Two young, smart gentlemen, folks. Let's keep the conversation going, because this is no doubt the future of this country. And if you're listening out there, and if you're young and you're willing and you want to be in it, go in there. That's what the SG says. Jump in.
Call me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, call me so that we can be in UDA together.
Thanks so much for tuning in, folks. Remember, every Wednesday, it's all about those three letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. Thanks so much for being a part of the show, folks. Good night, good luck. God bless you all, and God bless Kenya. Thank you, gentlemen. Cheers.